You are now tuned in to the Ladies Love Hip Hop podcast with your host, Summer Willow. Hello, it's your girl, Summer Willow of the Ladies Love Hip Hop podcast. Thank you for being with me. I missed you so much. This COVID thing got me in my feelings. I hate being home alone, but I'm happy to be here today with my special guest. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right into it. So let me tell you a little bit about this queen. Skilled, I said, in the art of lyrical alchemy, STAHHR has been perfecting her craft and honing her lyrical warrior skills since the latter part of hip-hop's golden era, and carving a niche for herself by interweaving intellect, natural law, metaphysics, and social awareness. That's why I love her so much. With the essence of pure, unadulterated hip-hop. And I mean, if you're a hip-hop fan, this is your girl right here. She consistently provides a welcome breath of fresh air. And here for you today, ladies and gentlemen, friend to the show, STAHHR. Hey! Today is National Red Lips Day. Everybody get with the wave.
We were in sync because I didn't even know that.
I know. We kind of like match.
I love when that happens though. You know, when you don't know what you know on a cellular level.
There you go. So I am happy to have you here. My initial intention obviously was to have a face-to-face interview with you. But whatever. Thank God for Zoom. I'll say that right now. I don't think that way during work hours, but
okay. But yeah, because I'm like, yeah, we definitely have tried a couple of times to link. So I'm glad that we were able to make it happen.
Seriously. So I just want to jump into the phenomenal Juneteenth release of No Doubt. Just tell you a quick story. Saw it pop up on Instagram, and I'm like, all right, bet. Let me cut this on. I'm in the car with my bestie. Bestie's a guy. Shout out to BK. Driving down the street. Mother's Milk comes on. What? I think I was doing like 5 miles an hour on Roosevelt Boulevard, blasting this music, thinking, did she know what we needed?
Oh, wow.
Did she understand what we needed right this second? Because I swear, if it's anything that I'm trying to do right now is to show my people, but mainly my brothers, that I love them. And you wrote a love song. Where'd that come from?
Okay, so first and foremost, these songs were actually written in 2017. Mother's Milk, maybe early 2018. But No Doubts was one of the first songs that I wrote after I came out of my hiatus of, not doing music for I stopped in 2015 and I resumed right after Prodigy passed away. I got back in the studio literally 5 days after. And so this was one of the first songs that I wrote. CRAZY DJ Bazarro and myself, we
Lost you.
In 2014 at A3C, we started. Later, he sent me the beat, and then I took the break for 2 years, and then 2017, I wrote to it, and then he sent me as a youth that had gotten me back into writing after my break, and he really inspired that song. I don't know if he'll ever hear it, or if he does hear it, if he knows it's about him. But thank you for the inspiration. Yeah, so that's where it came from, and we decided to put. We started talking about putting the songs out mid to late April. Mm-hmm. So we had no idea any of this stuff was going to happen. So it's just the, being in tune and the synchronicity. I mean, music, good music, you can sit on it.
Oh yeah.
And when it's time, it will fit in wherever it needs to fit in. And so Mother's Milk, I was like, man, I said, everybody's going to think that I wrote this song because of what's happening. And I actually wrote the song, recorded it twice because I wasn't happy with it. And I told Baz, because we were working on this project, and I was like, I don't know, man. So I sent him that, and I sent him Barbarella, and we sent for 2 years. And he hit me up. I posted I think I posted a picture on Instagram. He's like, yo, I opened up those sessions. We need to put these songs out. And he sent me, I love No Doubts. I mean, I love, that was like, that's my song. But when he sent me those, I'm like, wow, they aged really well. So it was definitely time. And then everything that was happening happened. And even with choosing Juneteenth for the release date, initially I chose it because it was the day before the first day of summer. So that was my initial. And also I deal with, the cards of life, like cardology, like I'm an ace of diamonds. So it was a Jack of Clubs day, the 19th.
Okay.
Jack of Clubs. Big up to Aquarius Maximus. That's she's done cardology readings for me before. And the first reading I did, it was on a Jack of Clubs day, and that was a day, and this was in 2017, where she told me your music career is gonna take a turn. And no, it might even been it was 2017. It might have been 2016. And I was like, she don't know what she's talking about, because I'm not even rapping right now, and my music career ain't gonna do nothing. And sure enough, within a year of that reading, so it tied into that too, because I remember her telling me that hip hop is actually governed by like Jack of Clubs energy. So Juneteenth, that was also like another thing of where, look, it is just right in line with because everyone's going to interpret things on their own level. So so that's the beautiful thing about art and about music. I have whatever motivated me, but there's people who may not even think about that, but then they could bring something to my attention that I wasn't even aware of and I didn't even think of. So that's the beautiful thing about art. An artist does their thing, they give their reasoning, but people can always interpret other things in it or find other things in it. So it just all worked out, and the love that it's gotten, I was like, wow.
Well, we needed it.
We need a love song. We needed that. We always need love songs. We always need something to balance. I mean, the love is going to always conquer the hate. And I'm like, I do not want them to run Mother's Milk more than No Doubts. Like, they both need equal. I gave 3 different flavors. I gave Barbarella for the extra lyrical to introduce that aspect of my personality. No Doubts, the love song, that's my specialty. I think I do very well with love songs. And then Mother's Milk, because I had to give them that natural law. I had to. It's my duty to uplift, fallen humanity. Like when I corrected my nomenclature, and when I took back my noble title, I'm still obligated as an active Moor to teach. And we all have different ways of teaching, and I use my music to do mine. So.
Absolutely. And you know what the great thing is about that? And I think as artists, I used to be a singer, a very involved vocalist on the Philly scene.
Wow.
And who knew?
Right?
Who knew? I mean, I love music. My father's a musician. My mother was a singer as well.
Aww.
So yeah, my dad married the background singer. So
okay. Right. Yeah. Yes, I've been in those musician relationships. Ooh, they are very interesting.
Yeah. But I noticed
you knew how many songs I wrote. Beyonce.
That's what I was gonna say. But that's what I was gonna say, like that.
Or just being,
that inspiration.
It's tough. But even if you're not, even with friendships, because the person that inspired a lot of my music in 2017, it was never a dating thing. It was like a mutual admiration but it was so powerful that it ended up repelling. We ended up repelling each other because it was such an intense and very powerful energy. But you know, I inspired them. I mean, you know, there's music out there that I know happened during that time, and I will forever hear those songs and know like that's, and you know, likewise. And it doesn't, you know, that we know.
We know what it is, but
they know what it is, but you know, they know who they are. Yeah. Oh no, you can never. You know, you can't do that. You know, we can't. We don't. I mean, yeah, it's just it's better that it's an inspiration, because actually it's not just one person either. That one person might have been the catalyst, but you know, when you're writing, you're pulling from experiences, but also like the ideal. And to me, No Doubts was like the ideal. Like if I had an ideal situation where I met this person and we connected and we clicked and we were in sync, this is what it would be. But you know, they're under that, the skeleton is an actual person. I just had to dress it with some other stuff.
Some different outfit on it, that's all. But it was perfect. It was perfect.
Yeah, that's the But you know, it's always that's my artistic license. I could take it and yes, but yeah, artists are, especially MCs. It's a lot, boy. The battle.
But you're supposed to be able to do that. That's why you're here, because you have the ability to use your words to create emotion from emotion. Like you're inspired by emotion, and then you transfer that emotion onto others. Right. And we needed that feeling right there at that time. I mean, right now, everybody's on edge. We're not sure as a people how to, and I say as a people because I am sure on how to collect and band together and change this thing. But as a people, we're not sure how to do this. Right. And a lot of times, brothers and sisters alike feel defensive, and they feel like everyone's coming at them. And, and I don't ever want anyone to feel like I'm going to kick them while they're down, you know, because we have so many different conversations right now. You know, this situation is bringing about so many different conversations.
Yeah. So many.
And some of them are hard conversations.
They are.
But and you talked about it.
Yeah. It's, you know, and then too, because everybody's at a different place. So I think that so many people are waking up, and there's people who've been awake for a long time, and all those worlds are converging with each other, because, you know, I remember, you know, people thinking I was crazy, you know, like back in the 90s, like certain things I studied and dealt with, and now I'm like, you know, I definitely, my approach is always to counter whatever the mainstream popular thought about a thing is, because usually when masses of people follow something, it can be dangerous if they don't know why they're following it. So I tend to observe something before I jump all the way in, because we've seen a few people, like the dude with the bird watching dude with the lady in the park, you know, now more is coming out about that story. So we have a tendency, because we are compassionate people, and we are loving people, we tend to jump to everyone's defense without thoroughly investigating and checking out what's going on. And a lot of times we end up getting burned that way. You know, compassionate people do have to learn how to have very, you know, much better boundaries. And there's just so much. But the good thing about it all is that people are getting fed up with things the way that they are. So with that means that there is a lot of room for growth. There's a lot of room for people to be open and receptive to different ways of doing things. So that is the good thing there. But I'm not going to flood anyone's timeline with a bunch of depressing, heavy. I'm just not gonna do that. You know, I'm not gonna post anybody getting murdered. I'll never do that.
Yeah,
so
no.
Just people should never expect me post anything like that, because I will never do it, just because I know what that does on a subconscious level, on an energetic level, what that does. And it does desensitize you to a degree. And we know the reality. So it's good to just attack it, in different ways, because there's certain stuff I'm never going to give any energy to, because I know how energy works. So I never will. So anyone that may be curious or wonder why you never post certain things, because I choose not to involve myself in that on social media, and I do my work behind the scenes, because I've always done work. So it's not like it's something that I want to get a pat on the back or an award. Not to say that but a lot of things I've seen are performative. I'm good. I don't feel like anyone needs to have their notepad out. We shouldn't be doing this to each other, because we all have too much stuff that we need to be working on and to be checking what somebody else is doing. There's just so much.
So I think there's a fine line. I think that there's a line there. So I have to agree with you that you can get sucked in. Your energy can be zapped by participating in perpetuating the images, the dialogue and things like that. Because like you said, it's an emotional tug, and it's something that has to do with, life and death, freedom or bondage. It's just like, it's kind of a very tight space where you want to be still because you want to hear, what should I do? What should I say? But then you also, can experience times where you feel super oppressed. You want to lash out. You've seen too much. You feel too much. And you need to say something for your own release. Right.
And I totally agree with you 100%. I don't police how other people process death, how they mourn, how they feel. I'm not here. Whatever people need to do, but and by that same token, allow others to do their thing too. I just see it's way too much people trying to check what someone else is. Let people do things in the way that they do it. I'm at a point where I don't need to do certain things anymore, because I've already gone through that, and I've passed that. But for the people who are just now getting there, yeah, absolutely, process it, because it needs to be processed.
It does.
You know what I mean? I don't know if there's any one way for all of us, and that's the thing where we wait for one person to tell us, oh, just move where you are.
There you go.
You can and just start moving, and the more you do to better yourself, that is going to affect everything around you. So all we have to do is the work. Absolutely. And if we're doing the work, things are gonna change.
And you're the leader.
They have to.
You're the leader. You're not waiting for a leader.
Absolutely.
You're the leader of
yourself. Self-savior. It's a self-savior time. There is no one coming to save us but ourselves. So we better get busy.
I need it in Spanish, French. I need it in patois.
Right.
Like, you have to do this for you. You have to do this for you. And the point that I'm getting to is that, music is always a constant when it comes to unity, and when it comes to separation as well, because you could put a message in a song that totally cuts it down the middle, or you could put a message in a song that brings everyone together, or at least opens their eyes to a different perspective. And this music that you released is, in my heart, like freedom music. It's
thank you, sis. Thank you.
It is. It's Black love, and it's Black power, and it's not anything less than what it's supposed to be. It's very straightforward and honest, but it's not preachy and this is how.
Thank you. I work very hard at not being preachy, because I know that does not work. When people feel like you're talking down to them, they are going to tune you out.
I hear that.
they're gonna tune. And so I'm just like, this is my perspective. I'm sharing it, and hopefully I'm clear enough and concise. I've gotten more and more, because I used to be very, very abstract.
Oh yeah,
I've
that too.
I've worked but I have also worked on being direct as well, so that I can hit you from whatever angle. Because this is the music. When they talk about speaking in tongues, this is really a way to be able to speak in tongues. I know a lot of people from a lot of different places. I've traveled, so I pull from all. Like, wait, what? She's from the South? She doesn't sound like it. I pull from. I'm a product of everything I've been exposed to. Everyone I've been exposed to. I've taken the best part. I take the best part, and I leave what doesn't work.
Well, let me ask you a question. I know you said earlier that you recorded the song twice, and I know artists, that's what we do. We don't like it, we're going to do it again. And we quit a lot. And we're like, I don't feel like doing this, right?
That's me.
But my question is that process like a inner monologue where you write what you feel and then you think about it and rewrite? Or do you have a sounding board or somebody that you trust to say, I think that's going to hit them too hard? I think you could say that differently.
Mine is never about what I write. What I write is what I write. Now, how I write now versus how I used to write, I write in quatrains and couplets, and I edit as I go. And I do not move forward until I have that couplet or those 2 bars, for those who don't know what a couplet is, a quatrain, 4 bars. So until I am happy with that, that is how I write. I write. Sadat X actually shared that he has a similar writing style. I write blurts. I might do 2 lines here, and then I'll work on it, and I'll be like 2 lines there. So when I heard, because that's one of my favorite MCs, so I'm like, dang, okay, he does it too. Cool. You can tell in the way that he rhymes. I love him. He's so dope.
Complete.
Yo, I love you.
Complete.
I do, but I know you know that because I've told you that. So thank you, because he's one of my.
He loves you.
One of my influences, and so mine is with how it sounds. So let's say I go in and record it, and I didn't have it memorized as well as I would have liked to. So my energy might be off, or I don't like the way I was in the pocket. Usually that's why I re-record now, and that is what it was with Mother's Milk. Once I wrote it, that was it. I knew that's what I wanted to say, but the way that I said it, I never really got comfortable in the groove because I was rhyming way slower than I normally rhyme. I had to slow my beat, you know what I mean? So it's just getting comfortable with that. But the pocket, once you know your pocket, the pocket, a lot of you MCs couldn't find your pocket if you was wearing cargo pants. And
right.
I say that with love. Please go back and listen. Like, I listen to stuff repeatedly after I recorded, and I listen. And I actually I have an engineer friend. For my sound quality, I usually send everything to him, and then I'll send it to like 2 other people whose opinion as professional, very seasoned artists, just to get feedback from that. But it's usually not about the lyrics as much as it is about the sound, because the sound is what's going to make people who might not know what I'm talking about, but if it sounds good, they're going to listen. If they can hear what I'm saying because I'm enunciating and all my words are clear and I'm not jamming 15 words into a space where there's only room for 10, right? They're going to, you got to know how to do that. Now, there are people that can do that, but you got to be so proficient to jam 15 words in a space for 10. You got to be like Pharoah Monch. Right. You got to be like a Black Thought. That's not for regular humans.
You're right.
You got to be like superhuman. But so yeah, that is what that. Now with Barbarella, I actually did rewrite some of the lyrics. So there's actually 2 different versions of that song, and the song is way better. So that's yeah. With my writing, I'm very confident in the writing, but I still feel like with my, I want my delivery sometimes to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And when I try different things and I'm not 100% comfortable, I do like to get that. I like to have someone else listen to it. And I don't have a problem with someone critiquing. I don't have a problem with, a lot of artists, if you wanted to help them, you got to make sure that they're not going to take the help the wrong way. I've learned I don't volunteer anything unless somebody asks me, because I have tried to help people in the past and they got really offended with me giving like technical advice that I'm like, hey, it will sound better if, so you pick and choose. That's why I say I have my group of people that I go to the same people every time. I have my 3 people.
Mm-hmm. Mechanics. I mean, it's just about mechanics, and it's not about the creativity as much with those.
About because the sound is the only another artist is gonna really and truly appreciate the way that you did the 3 bars here, and then you rhyme this word in the 4th bar with the rhyme in the 1st bar. The average Joe,
they don't get that. They're like, I couldn't hear it.
But did I hear what she said? Was she clear? Mm-hmm. Did I understand the word so that I could look it up in the dictionary, even though I didn't know what it meant? So yeah, they wanted to, and the music needs to sound good. The recording needs to sound good. The mix, the mastering. So that, yes. And I am a perfectionist, but
well, you took care of us with this one. You took care of us, and speaking to the mechanics, like CRAZY DJ Bazarro. Yeah. That marriage right there.
Yeah. Baz. I love Baz. He's very good at, like, if I tell him what I want, he is able to deliver. Like weak shit. When I said Baz, I want a beat. Like I said, I want that little clip of Guru. I had wanted a beat with that in it, and it was perfect. I'm like, that is exactly how I thought it would sound when someone took that clip and put it on a track for me. I said, I want a hardcore track. I want something hard. Like if I would to ask Lil Fame and Billy Dance to get on it, something like that. Yeah, that's what he gave me. So,
well, yeah. I think, I know obviously, how dope you are and what you've contributed to hip hop and how caring you are about hip hop and educating and having fun and being a woman and just like this whole, amalgamation of things.
Perfect with
you.
I always refer to myself as an amalgam.
Do you?
Perfect.
It's like one of my favorite words.
Yes, because I'm a mixture, like I told you, of all of my experiences, of all the things I've been around. Again, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. When I tell people that their jaws drop, I was raised in the suburbs of Atlanta. Why do you sound like you're from Brooklyn? Why do you sound like you're here? Hip hop. It's a universal language, and everybody that rhymes has similar traits. We really do, because it's a culture. So I give it up. I was heavily influenced by the East Coast, heavily influenced by MCs from Brooklyn, from Queens, from the Bronx, and I always give it up. So yeah, if I sound like that, that's why. I have no reason to front.
But who is STAHHR though? Who is STAHHR?
Who is STAHHR? STAHHR is so many things. STAHHR is love, light, power, high frequency, balance, culture, roots, healing, family, love, universal, all of those things. Dang, that was a good question, and I wasn't expecting that one. Yeah, so H is for hip hop. She's I'm a pair of pink Tims.
Yes, you are.
They're pink and really feminine, but they still Tims, and you get stomped out in them.
You are.
I like to think of myself as being the balance of like the B girl next door is what I refer to myself as. Like I'm like the girl next door and then the hip hop head. So like, dang, like you would want to date her, and then like you could talk about hip hop with her, like you one of the boys, but you not. You know, like that balance, because that is what, as women in this thing, we either one extreme or the next. That's what's allowed for us to be, one extreme or the next. So I'm like, I want to bridge it all. Like I don't, because the conscious rapper, when you get caught in the conscious rapper box, people, it's like they don't want you to be anything else. And I have aspects of my personality that I may want to do something that's some people would think is the opposite of what a conscious MC is, but that means they just don't really know what consciousness means, and being cognizantly aware, which is what I prefer to say. We gotta stop making things
labeling it.
A conscious person is someone that's aware of what's going on. So
just awake.
You awake.
Conscious.
You could be from any walk of life and be conscious. You don't have to, be a vegan and have dreads and wear shea butter to be conscious. And I think that becomes a stereotype, and it's unfair, and that's why a lot of people don't really want to be pegged as any one thing, because it's like you almost like people refuse to allow you to grow. Exactly. So I'm conscious, but I got a little ratchet. I got a little ratchet in there too.
Hello.
I got I got my little granola girl stuff, but then I want to get on my grown and sexy too. We all have dimensions to our personality. We should. So, people can do how they feel comfortable, and that's what I've learned. So if that's the closest thing in their mind to attribute to me, I'm not insulted by that, because I know that that's probably the closest thing that they could think of to connect. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So like Erykah Badu that raps. I've had people say that. What? Like, but Erykah Badu actually raps. Did you know that? Did you even know that?
Like, thanks a lot.
She started out as an MC. It shows how much you know about Erykah Badu. But okay.
Exactly. Thanks for the compare. I mean, who doesn't love Erykah Badu? But
God, I love her. That is that's a high compliment. I never really get offended by anyone.
Any comparison.
I know that people are just, that's the closest thing. Oh, you remind me of Bahamadia. Oh, you remind me of Ladybug. Oh, you remind me. Those are compliments, because these are women who I looked up to. So why would I ever be insulted by
Absolutely.
that? But I also, by the same token, I was influenced by Redman, Biggie, Big L, Black Thought, Pyro, and it's funny how no one ever compares you to. And that's the only thing I don't like, is that they still do it by gender. Like, why I can't remind you of Big L? Why I can't remind you of Planet Asia?
Because you a girl.
Right, and that's all. But we're gonna get past that. We're gonna get past that. We're gonna stop.
You're going to help us.
Yeah, we're gonna get past that.
You're gonna help us get past that. Because you refuse, and this is one thing that attracts me to your music, is you refuse the box. Like, you just, whatever the track says to you is what you say to us.
You're good. That's exactly what I listen to. I let the track. Everything on Respect Due, whatever those beats told me to write, that's what I wrote.
Listen,
that's exactly how sis, you are so on point. That is exactly how I approach that entire project.
It's true artistry.
Whatever these beats tell me to say, that's what I'm saying.
And that's the only way to rock.
Because I had to show people that I had other dimensions. That's why I jumped on all of those beats. I'm like, I need y'all to know that I can do other stuff.
Do you have this other persona? Because I hear your voice go from this one like, rah, and then you go to this, this. But let me tell you one more thing.
I mean, again, because nothing is, okay, nature is always in a constant state of flux. So you could be out in the woods and you could smell honeysuckle, pine, bear shit, right. air, whatever. So however it comes at me, that's how I take like when you freestyle like off the top of the dome, that's like it's just right. You just ride it.
It's a conversation.
However it comes out. So when I write, it really just depends on what the tone of what I'm writing is. Because that's real. That's a, you know, I mean, I don't all, you know, you want to have different emotions bring out a different, you know, when you fussing at your children.
I was just thinking that.
When you talking to your man,
right?
Or you know, when you're keying with your girls. I mean, it's just different.
Absolutely,
it's about the energy.
It is about the energy.
It's about the energy. I mean, nobody wants. There are people who I think are really great artists, but they are very monotone, and that is hard sometimes to listen to like entire albums, no matter how dope they are. So that, you know, changing the pitch and the frequency and the cadence, all that stuff is just take me on a ride.
Absolutely. You know who takes me on the best ride, and then I want to know who takes you on the best ride. Royce the 5'9".
God, I love Royce so much.
Oh man, my God, I feel like I'm in a play or something. I'm like, what is next?
I love him. Pharoah Monch. I get that from Pharoah Monch is my person for that, and Redman actually does that too. Yeah. True. Yeah, and Red is my favorite MC, but Monch is like, he is just out of the world to me. Like, I just listen to stuff that he does. I'm like, damn, how did he even? He's just like, he's singing, but he's rapping.
Right.
He's got like a scale, it's almost like an operatic. He's moving up the scale.
Yes.
Yeah. So because it's still music.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'm using the poetry, like the quatrains and the couplets. It's poetry. So it's still, you know, you know how to write. We're writers. So, I mean, I am an MC, but I was a writer first. So I studied writing techniques. I've studied songwriting. You know, I wrote poetry. So in that, you know, what's a bridge? What's a refrain? It's music. So it's still, I think that some of the best MCs are ones who also sing, or they have
try.
Right. Or they've been poets before, because they understand those changes.
You got to let it breathe.
And those runs.
Yeah, you got to let it breathe for a second.
Right, exactly.
Jump into it.
Exactly.
Then you wait and see how they felt about that, and then you jump into some more.
Look, listening to, you know, from the DJ tradition in Jamaica, and that influenced hip hop. So think about like a Wise Intelligence who goes back and forth from that, or like a KRS-One that goes back and forth. Even, you know, even like Foxy did it, going back and forth. So it's a, man, listen.
It's time.
I just love music. I love music. So.
And this music that you put out, it's time for this music again. And I don't mean it as if someone stopped making that type of music.
Cyclically, it's time. Right. It's time. And exactly, if you pay attention to the cycles, everything has to come back, because there's nothing new under the sun. So that's why, like, I sat on those songs for 3 years and they still work, because we knew things.
We needed them now.
We knew things were escalating. I knew things were escalating. I'm like, oh, this is it.
Yep.
So it just
feel it in your spirit.
Yeah.
And you can see it in the happenings.
Right. Because anything that's new has actually been around for like 5 years. If people know anything about trends and how trends, and, you know, even with the stocks and things like that, the trends start changing years in advance. It's never an overnight. It's never like an overnight thing. So if you're watching the pattern and watching the trend, you see where it's going to evolve to next if you watch the cycles, because it's a cycle. Like, even when you think about every year around, like, if I go back and look at my Google photos, I know I take my son to visit his father around. I might see every year in my pictures is always around the same. And see, you're doing this around this time. You're doing this around this. So there'll be different things, but it's good to look back and chart to see how you've grown. We got to start paying attention to stuff like that. So that way you know when it's time. You don't even have to look at the calendar. Like with the moon, I don't even look at when the full moon and the new moon or Mercury retrograde, because I already feel it. I'm like, oh,
something's up.
Time. And sure enough, I'll go check and it will be. Because once you're on that rhythm, you good.
And that's where I think this type of music is taking folks to the idea of gaining perspective about what's going on and just like sitting with it versus jumping on it and acting on it, but then to balance that out, acting on it because you feel it, you know it's here, and you know it requires some action. And the best way for those who are downtrodden, depressed, oppressed, is to hear it melodically, learn it, right? Because that's the great thing about music, and it's also the horrible thing about music, but to learn it,
right,
and kind of microchip that, so that when you walking down the street, that random thought that pops into your head isn't like popping mollies, is actually, mother's milk.
Or like, if somebody gets an insurance policy or starts to trust based on listening to that song, or they like reevaluate their diet, I did my job.
Can we talk about that for a second? I just need to say it for everybody who did not hear that yet, who did not hear it. She said, set up trust funds. Hear me when I bust guns. Hear me when I bust guns. Take back your birthright. Treat Mother Earth right. These are basic principles, people. It's basic. Diet and exercise. Get off the flesh. To me, that was like, that has a double meaning there, double entendre there.
Right, because it can go either way. Yep, that's true. Yep.
Get off the flesh. Nothing scares the enemy more than us at our best. Come on. Are you serious?
Serious B. Just like the circulation.
If you could memorize that, just memorize that.
It's a mantra. I mean, we have to make our own mantras. We have to make our own mantras. Like when people talk about writing their affirmations and everything, these are things that you're going to say to yourself. It doesn't have to be, you're running your own race. And when and man, rest in peace and so much respect to Nipsey Hussle, his whole concept of the marathon. When I started listening to Nip years ago, that is what made me love him. The fact that he talked about that marathon and then all of those other things. He was talking about the life insurance. He said $1 million life insurance policy on my flesh, nigga. Mm-hmm. He was at the Mayan ruins. So
people listen to him.
You gotta, and I mean, that's, I want everybody to get this knowledge. I don't just want people who, I don't just want the people with the locks that's vegan to listen to my music. Right. I want the people everywhere that need it. I want that little kid that's like, man, I'm fucking tired of eating oohs and noodles and McDonald's, but this is all that I got, but I want vegetables, or I want this, or everybody around me's doing this, but I really want to learn about yoga, but the kids, they might make fun of me, or I don't, I grew up Christian, but I went to church and I never believed none of that stuff, and I know there's got to be something else for people. Like there is someone like that in every walk of life. So really, whoever has ever questioned anything that they were raised on and felt like this is not for me, because I knew at 5 years old. I mean, I knew that young. I was at 5. Something ain't right about this, and that's all I ever knew. So how could at 5, if I'd never been exposed to anything else, what was making me know that something wasn't right? So we exist everywhere.
Everywhere.
They call them crystal children, indigo children,
yep. Indigo children,
rainbow children. They got many different names, but we got a lot of them here now. And really, what I've seen, the things I've seen in the news, the children are out there on those front lines. They need this music. Because they're going to inherit this world. I mean, I'm in my 40s, so we had our time.
You think that we let them down?
I do. I think that we did let them down in many ways, just like our parents let us down in many ways. Mm-hmm. Because we were actually supposed to be, the children of the 70s were actually supposed to be those children.
Right.
And I remember when I used to study with Dr. York, he was like, well, they brought hip hop to take y'all off. You had heroin, your parents was on heroin, then here come the cocaine 80s, Ronald Reagan and crack and everything. So that got some 80s babies up out of here. So our generation, our parents, the 70s babies' parents had heroin. That destroyed our family. The 80s babies' parents had crack. That destroyed theirs. The 90s babies, we was, smoking blunts. So we ain't really totally destroyed. But, the next generation, they have Molly and they popping pills again. And then now, we're mad at these kids for talking about drugs, but half of them, your parents put them on drugs because they had ADD or whatever they said they had, or they got them on Ritalin, or they drugging them up so that they can go to school and behave. So how can you be mad at these kids when they're not being fed balanced diets? They're getting all these foods with the different food coloring, crap, high fructose corn syrup, and you wonder why they came out however they came out. They eating fast food with hormones and stuff in it, and we're wondering why they rap about what they rap about, or they walk around eating hot Cheetos or whatever. The parents still there. I mean, listen, hot Cheetos are good, but they shouldn't be eating them for breakfast. That's all I'm saying.
No. I know.
They shouldn't be eating hot Cheetos at 8 o'clock in the morning. No, I'm saying that.
The chip and soda
and Gatorade. So I mean, we do have to own responsibility for a lot of it.
I mean, you're talking about the Black Panther movement.
Just like we rebelled, they were going to rebel. They're going to rebel either way because that's what the youth do.
That's what we do.
Yeah, right. But I mean, so many of them get it too. So it's like, it's going to always be, as long as we can come to a balance. I don't expect everyone to be a certain, I mean, that's insane. If everything's positive, then it's going to be in balance. If everything is negative, it's going to be in balance. We want to be in the middle. We want to be left in the middle. So I do feel that we let them down in a way. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, it's just not having the dialogues that we need to have. Having your OG there to give you guidance or have somebody to bounce. I mean, if the kids don't respect you and you don't respect them, it's going to be really hard to get them to listen to anything that you have to say.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
the OG
if you come from a place of judgment, like you were saying, if you preaching to them, people are like, okay, but what are you really saying?
Right.
Anyway. What that mean?
I know.
I mean, I know I don't like to be preached to. So, but I think right now is a great time because so much is transitioning. It's a great opportunity for us to let go of a lot of things.
Yes.
And to really hit that reset button. But people gotta let go. A lot of people are still holding on. Mm-hmm. A lot of these things that we think are important are really not as important as we think they are. Absolutely. But while we're getting these small victories, there's big things that are still happening under our nose that some of us are missing, but it's good that there are others of us that are paying attention. As I said, everybody's at a certain level. To some people, tearing a statue down is a huge monumental thing. To other people, certain knowing that, Bitcoin and things of that nature are going to be the new currency that we need to get up on.
Get on it.
Gold. I mean, the fact that I watched Five Brothers last night, and with a lot of Spike is very interesting. He threw a lot of stuff in there, but the main point of the movie, I don't want to ruin it for people who haven't seen it, but just remember that gold plays a huge part in that movie, and the fact that that was addressed and that movie came out right now is very relevant and very important. That's all I will say. So if I love Spike's one of my favorite directors. I feel like over the years he has allowed himself to be used by certain groups.
Okay.
I wanna call him. I'm being really, because I love Spike. I really do love him as a director. He's one of my favorite directors. Absolutely. But I feel like there's certain agendas that he pushes that
Stella thinks the same thing.
Yeah, he pushes certain agendas that can be harmful to our people right now because it keeps us asleep. That was a good way to say that without, because
I have to quiet down the dog.
Okay.
Stella, and then cut it out. She's mad.
Uh-oh. What's going on when she barks? She knows there's somebody coming.
Because of the kids running back and forth. She
okay.
doesn't like that.
I'm
gonna just let her have her little moment.
Okay.
And that's okay. So I have 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
First question, up to you if you want to answer it or not.
Okay.
I asked, did you think that we let that generation down? And I agree with you that in a way we did, just like other generations.
Right.
Do you feel like hip hop is letting our youth down also? Scratch youth. That's not the question I have. Women.
Okay, so when you know the history of hip hop, you know that from the beginning, women were always treated shitty. We're not going to sugarcoat it. We're not going to play with it. Back from when the Mercedes ladies would have shows and they would tell them that it started at one time and they would start 2 hours earlier or whatever and they would miss it. Yeah. Since how Roxanne Shante got treated with her contracts and the different people that were using her and manipulating her. Yeah, women being used as video props only. You either got to be like this tough, hardcore chick, or you got to be like a sex kitten. Yeah, I feel like, who wants to listen? I've heard men say, I don't listen to female MCs. I don't listen to women. Right? Even being reduced to being a female MC, which, again, I get it. People group. They put things in boxes. I mean, it would be nice if we could just say that we're MCs, just like a woman that's a doctor is a doctor. She's not a doctoress.
Right?
She's not a lawyeress. She's not a lawyeress. But I feel like in that, how we're treated, also being women is our power because we are the other. So we're gonna always stand out because there could be a million dudes, and if there's 1 or 2 women, those 1 or 2 women, people are probably gonna pay more attention to that because those are the 2 things that are different. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I've learned to look at that as a way for me. Well, I'm gonna always be heard because I'm in the minority.
Okay.
But I definitely think that we need to. Hip hop it can be a very misogynistic place. It can be a place where men almost bully in a way about a lot of things. Like if you talk about something hip hop, you had their first album that came out in 19 on vinyl with a white label where the word was misspelled. I mean, it's almost like they're trying to test you and challenge you at every turn, as if you gotta prove your worth to be a part of it. And there's a lot of that, but then there's also brothers who, will tell you, my favorite MC is MC Light, or, my pen was inspired by my big sister. So there are men out there that are balanced and they know what time it is and know that when you have the balance, you're going to go so much further.
Right.
I see who buys. When people buy stuff, I get to see who's buying my stuff. A lot of men buy my music. So, I mean... especially when you people buy on Bandcamp, you can see the names with the email address. So I know I have a huge male fan base. So that I know men support women in hip hop on that. So we can't say that they don't.
Absolutely.
They do. I know I have a huge male fan base. Huge.
Yeah, and I don't think I would ever suggest that they don't support us, because I know they do.
Hip hop, in terms of the way it's structured, yes, it is. It is very patriarchal, and it can be very harmful to women. It can be, if it is misused. Absolutely, I agree with that. I would never say anything counter to that, because I would be lying. We all know that. It's definitely, it has led women down in a lot of ways. But the more women, the more artists that are women that step forward, and we use our platforms, and we have these platforms, and we're being heard. And again, a lot of my OGs are men, so them putting me on certain projects, or certain producers, legendary producers working with me, that's a way of helping bridge that gap too.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. I mean, it is a male dominated. It is. Just like this world is, dominated by that energy.
But we're the backbones, and that's what they don't, because a lot of these brothers are successful because there's a woman somewhere at home holding it down, which allows for them to leave and go out and pursue this rap career and travel the world and do all these things, and know that everything's going to be taken care of at home. So we got to speak about that too, because I know a lot of women who, their mothers, their wives, they raised children, so they had to put their career on pause. I had to put my career on pause to, do things for my family. So there's a lot of women that stopped because they chose their families over the music, and that's a choice that a lot of men don't ever have to make.
Wow.
They don't. A lot of them don't have to make that choice.
When you put it like that, wow. And then not having that choice, or for the most, not like you don't have the choice. You can always choose otherwise. Oh, yeah. But being the matriarch, or being, someone who, even if you're the father figure and the mother, so to speak, or the father, not the mother, but the sole parent.
Right.
You still have, as a man, the autonomy to walk, the autonomy to work, and receive a higher wage, so to speak.
Real. That's real.
And
I've done the research, and it's real. I mean, the income disparity based on gender is real. The pink tax is real.
It is.
It's real. These are real things. But men don't ever, I was talking to a brother about it one day. He goes, wow, I didn't even know that existed. I mean, why would you? Are you buying?
Right.
Are you buying lotion from women? Are you buying face moisturizer? Are you getting your clothes done at the cleaners? Are you buying the shampoo that's targeted towards women, the body wash targeted towards women, whatever. If you're not, of course you would be oblivious. So in that, them being oblivious doesn't necessarily mean that they're oppressing, they're just oblivious. It's a privilege.
It's a privilege.
Able to be oblivious. Just like when you try to explain white privilege to white people and they don't get it because they have the privilege of not having to look at it. You don't have to care.
I'm about to dance.
You don't buy pads. So you don't have to care how much pads cost because you don't buy them. Why should you have to know? Yes, we are. We are.
Listen, I just feel conflicted sometimes because, I can't even express in words how much I love hip hop and how much it makes me so happy. I mean, I wake up in the morning, it's the first thing I listen to, and it's the last thing I listen to. All my friends will tell you, if Summer does not cut this hip hop off, I do not want to hear this no more. Meanwhile, they're like, who is that? Well, who is that?
Right, exactly.
But I just love it so much. It's so much great energy for me. Yeah. But then, at the same time, I know the words, and then I say them, and I'm like, that's not cool. That's not really cool. And do I really support it? And I go through this every day.
Oh, trust me, I understand, because I listen to, a lot of different things, and I'm like, this is really, even if he's not talking about me, he's talking about a woman.
You have
I'm a woman. You know what I mean? Even if it's his alter ego and it's a persona, but then when you look at it like that, well, what about movie? Because then you gotta look at when we watch this movie, or we watch reality TV, and what's the difference? Because we see negative images on the Real Housewives shows and Love and Hip Hop also, and and Mona Scott is directing that show, so that's a woman. So you can't even, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I mean, but then they can say, well, women can be agents of, I guess, patriarchy as well. So I think that because of the heavy influence of in the 70s, the whole thing with blaxploitation, that really made a lot of our heroes people who
called us bitches.
Right. I mean, because that those, when you watch those movies, those were the powerful figures. The Nick, why am I'm losing my train of thought? I was like, okay, for instance, like Superfly.
Absolutely.
But he was powerful. He didn't take no shit from the white man. He had all the women. He had money. So I think that in that space, we were looking for our own heroes. We weren't looking for these,
necessarily
pictures that were created by Hollywood. We wanted to feel empowered. And a lot of times the person in your neighborhood, like the dude who might have ran numbers, but he gave all the kids, money at Christmas. I mean, that was a hero. That was somebody, we understand why drug dealers were seen as heroes. And I mean, we get it. Do you know what I'm saying? Whether it was dysfunctional or toxic or not,
right?
It was a way of having autonomy still. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Where maybe didn't have it before. So not to excuse it, but just to we got to call it what it is. We got to understand what it is. It was still our attempt at creating something empowering for us that looked like us.
You're right.
We're creating our own superheroes, even though all of them superheroes, Stan Lee, they were all based off of black people anyway. But see, when we don't know our history, we don't know who we are. A lot of those are our stories, and we've been taken out of them.
Please, there's so many black comic books.
Right. But I'm saying every one of them characters is black.
Of course. Of course they are.
Right. You know what I mean? But
But you made a great point. I think that's a perfect analogy because of the struggle of the superhero. Yeah. And, especially the mutant, right?
Right.
And just the idea that they had this great power. Half of them didn't want it.
Right. Use it.
They didn't know how to use it.
Right.
They would use it and abuse it.
Yep.
They would get hooked on substances because they didn't want it.
Right.
But at the very end and the very beginning of the day, which is the same place, they knew they were needed. And they knew that their strength, whether they could harness it or not, was a necessary evil sometimes. Because technically they were killing people, right? They were throwing people all over the place and killing them and ravaging towns and things of that nature.
Right.
But it was for the greater good, right? Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe they were fighting for the other side. But at the end of the day, they were needed.
Right.
And they fought on a certain level that humans couldn't fight on.
Right.
And I love words and I love musicianship. And so the combination has caused me to overlook some things.
Right, because it's still that person's form of expression. And then, when people are actors and they play those movie roles, we can separate, well, not everybody, because some people will call a person by the movie role character. But again, I feel like everybody should have the platform to say whatever it is they need to say. Because if we take one person's, well, we censor here, then everybody's gonna get. It's like one of them things. Like, well, you gotta let everybody have their say, or nobody can have their say.
Well, it's always a good thing, because then you can pick out the allies and enemies.
Right. But I think that not knowing that these are characters, and that some of your favorite rappers not really living that life, but they're using their artistic license and they're telling. We get so caught up in it that we really think that they are exactly who they are in their songs, and sometimes they're telling a story, or sometimes that's a character, and it's just knowing how to. Because I definitely separate STAHHR and Camila. Like but people who only know STAHHR, I have to. Like when you become personal with some people who knew you through music, I'm very like, this is not STAHHR right now. So, you got to make sure people understand that I'm not a rapper like 24/7.
Right.
I take the suit off and put it in the closet, and then I'm doing this. So, I think that with hip hop, that's the only group that I see is held to this. Almost to me an unrealistic.
It's really right. It's
like you have to, like
sports figures,
right? And some, it's like we still are writers. This is still our artistic license. I mean, I know some of these dudes really live in everything they say, because I know some of them, and I also know some of them like, hey, this is a character, and I'm not that character when I'm over here with my kids and my family, or over here with my mom or whatever.
And we can make that distinction, but it's the young people that,
right. And that's where
I'm conflicted. It's not me that's conflicted.
Right. And then see with that too, though, it's almost like I never got everything from music, because I did have, my parental figures. I did have aunts, uncles, I had elders. So it's really, if you don't have like the strong parental base, then you are going to be raised. I mean, I learned a lot from hip hop.
Absolutely.
I learned so much. Like all my consciousness was really sparked by that. So just to think of a child who, again, there are kids who have parents that are strung out on drugs. So they are being raised by the TV, or they being raised by the streets, or they being raised by the music, whatever. So yeah, in that case, we do have to consider and think about that.
We do.
I don't want to put all the weight on hip hop.
No.
But we do have a certain responsibility, and I think a lot of artists they have balance. I mean, listen, I listened to Kodak Black the other day. We were driving, and I asked my son, I'm just going through iTunes. I'm like, do you listen to him? He's like, not really. So I listened, and the dude actually has some songs where he was, and I'm like, but see, they get written off.
Because
and that's not right, because that little dude actually had a couple of songs where he was actually really saying something. You know what I'm saying? And there are kids that listen to him that's gonna listen to those songs. And I mean, if he got some bullshit, but he got like 3 or 4 of those songs, he balancing it out. And I can't be mad. He don't make music for me,
right?
But there are people that listen to him. So to just totally, scrap that. They listen to it though. So whether you think it's real hip hop or it's real music or not, the kids do, and that's what they listen to. So it is what it is.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But I said, man, I actually listened, and I'm like, he's talking about some stuff. I mean, really. And I was surprised.
I think
dudes are not stupid though. That's what people need to understand. You're not getting signed to a record deal and you're a complete and total idiot. Like, these people are having meetings, and they're telling them, this is this, that, and the other, and this is these kids are not stupid. To be able to write, period, you have to be of a certain level of intelligence.
Absolutely.
To even write a song.
Absolutely.
Now, when they dumb it down, that's something different.
That's different, right? Wow.
But yeah, and then that's a very unpopular backpacker hip hop head. I'm sure there's a lot of backpackers and hip hop heads that don't agree with me. I don't care. I have my own opinion, and that's how I feel. And you don't have to agree with it. And that's fine.
You heard it here, folks.
It's fine. I mean, I don't, we good. Y'all gonna take my backpack away? That's what you do.
Well, my final question for you. It's not my final question. I'm going to talk to you forever.
I know, right?
But my final question for you is, just taking a step back from all of that for a moment. How do you feel as a woman in the industry, independent? How do you feel about the future independence of hip hop? Do you feel like there can be this economic upswing with hip hop, just like we need that upswing in our communities? Do you feel like the hip hop community can take this time, this period of time now, and also apply the lesson of economic freedom to their music, to their livelihood, to their lifestyles? Because I feel like a lot of people aren't looking for deals, but they are.
Yeah.
And the security right now, we need to build economic infrastructure in our communities.
Right.
And rap is an industry, right? Hip hop is an industry, and it can create jobs. And when you're an MC for 20 plus years, you don't have to quit the game. You can start a label. You can be, a tour manager, or open a venue, or teach at a school, teach music in a school.
Right.
I want to know about how you feel about the longevity of hip hop careers, and how maybe we could build more economic infrastructure that feeds our communities. I know that's deep.
That definitely with tech, there are so many angles you can go with tech. I mean, if we're looking at these kids doing distance learning, there are curriculum that can be created, for distance learning, actually using hip hop, using the music, using that to teach. John Robinson and a few and J. Rawls actually, have that the JRCP, they have the program where they did a whole album to be used as a curriculum to teach children with hip hop music. Mm-hmm. So I think that is one aspect. Tech is gonna definitely be an area where there is so much. I mean, we know how to do computer programming. If you're coming up with apps, if you're coming up with these curriculum that can be used through those channels. And in terms of, I think that you can really rhyme indefinitely as long as you're still good. So I don't even feel like you have to stop at a certain point.
Some people do, and I don't know why they stop.
They could be tired because touring takes a lot out of you. Now touring is going to be very different. I mean, I'm seeing people doing virtual shows. I don't know. We don't know how that's gonna work out. And I think another thing for people who may not want to be in front of the mic anymore, definitely bringing new artists in, doing A&R. You know what I mean? Whatever they went through and what they learned from, getting these younger artists and grooming them and preparing them and showing them, hey, there's money and you can actually write, you can license songs, you're publishing, things like that, where the residual income is actually coming from. Because that's like licensing music for TV, for commercials, for movies. There is a lot of money to be made there. So I mean, the rapper actually makes the least amount of money, I think, out of everybody. It's usually the person whose face you see makes the least money. So if people can get away from wanting the attention and look into the more behind the scenes things. I mean, look, even with merch, somebody that makes t-shirts, like an actual person who makes the actual t-shirts, people who make the printing machines, people, that's people who make ink. I mean, If we tear down all of these structures that people want to defund and tear down, so then where you gonna get your t-shirts from if you can't, if Amazon is gone because we don't fuck with Amazon no more, or American Apparel, Gildan, who's gonna make the t-shirts that we're gonna print on that we can sell to our fans? We gotta be thinking like that. Like if you, it's cool, tear this motherfucker down, burn it down, but you got to be able to replace everything that you tore down and got rid of. So the music, as long as we are able to stay updated with the technology, the music can go wherever, and people are going to always want music because they're going to want something to take their mind off of it. So I think that an artist needs to be smart about how they handle things like their publishing, looking into licensing, but also if you gotta get a job, it's okay. I have a job. I have a government job, and I'm grateful for my government job because it actually made it easier for me to make music once I got it, because I actually had money because there is no label deal. So I'm funding all my own stuff. I think that we gotta stop feeling like there's some shame in having a job. You can do Uber, you can do, DoorDash. I mean, and make money, and still have your time to do that. Also, having your own recording equipment. If you can record in your home, you can, your productivity level. You're not waiting to get in the studio. So we're gonna definitely have to be aware of the changes that are going to come and educate ourselves in that way. Did I answer the question? I hope I got all parts of it. You more
than answered my question. You actually brought me to my follow-up question and answered that, because the clip at the end of Mother's Milk about Black women spent this much on hair care products.
Right, Umar dropping them gems. I know a lot of people don't like Umar, but he said what he said and he was accurate, and you can't fight that. Let me not say that they don't like him, because they don't know him. So how can you really truly not like somebody you don't know? Some of the moves that he made are questionable to a lot of people, and they're not feeling it. So I'll say that. That
quote cannot be denied. Right.
I mean, if we're going to do all of that, then it needs to be coming from us. But,
that's what I'm saying.
But we got to have the capital. And like, when people don't even have life insurance policies and they're still GoFunding funerals, which I also talked about in there.
Yes, you did.
We don't have any savings. We don't have any investment. So it's hard when you're looking at parts of the groups of society who haven't this inherited money that they've had for generations. Like, how do you even catch up to somebody who's got 400 years worth of money that's just in their family, that they are, 4 generations of money
already ahead?
It's just, that is that's one of those things that I don't have the answer for, because if I had it, I would definitely be applying it in my own life. I mean, I came from a family that, was better off than many, but I still wasn't taught about saving or, certain things. And so I got money a lot of times and I blew it. I would get large sums of money and I mismanaged it and I blew it. Mm-hmm. So, because I think our parents, that first generation that went to college and got those, they just wanted, they didn't want their kids to want for anything, so they overcompensated a lot and didn't necessarily teach us. You know what I mean? But I mean, the information is out there. I think right now is a good time if you're gonna make some investments in like stocks or whatever, and somebody that you can consult with about that. If you can invest in some gold, if you can invest in some silver, the cryptocurrency, I don't know enough about it to be advising people, but from what I'm reading, that would be a good thing. But that would be a good thing to invest in, even if you get in and get out. But the silver and the gold, gold is about, the last time I checked, gold's like $1,700 an ounce, but silver was only like 19. So even if you can get some silver,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just, because you just don't, I mean, maybe it won't happen in our lifetime and we'll be okay, but we still need to prepare our children. Life insurance policy, you know, term life, whole life, universal life. I mean, get different ones. I mean, because at the very least, cover your funeral expenses. At the very least. You know, term life insurance policies are like, you know, people smoke and drink more than it would cost
in a week.
A month. They're like $20 a month. Some of them $20. So I mean, it's worth the investment, and do it earlier, sooner than later, because the older you are, the more expensive those policies are. Now, I mean, I just over the past couple of years got my policies in order, so I'm not speaking down as if I'm somebody who's had my shit together for years. You know, like I said, because of my job, that really helped me get a lot of things in order. I have a policy through my job, and then I got an additional one. You know what I mean? Because I'm in a space where, you know, you have more money, you can do more things. You know, but you know, it's just hard to tell somebody to save when they only making but so much. Like, save. What's that?
It's true, but there's ways. And
there are, and I know we got some financial advisors. I think it was the thing too. Can we be able to trust people and people who are not going to scam us?
There you go.
Because there's a lot of that going on in the community too. People are preying on the ignorance of others, and they're preying on the fear of others. And I've heard of a lot of people that have given some of these clowns money.
Yep.
And I mean, large sums of money, because that's from, you know, one of the issues people got with Brother Umar taking that money for their school.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Yep. So it makes people gun shy. But yeah, you have your, even if rapping is your goal and that's just it, and you're not gonna do nothing else, you can still monetize that in many different ways. You can monetize it. I've seen some very creative things since this whole pandemic. I've seen, I saw Elder Sensei he was reading. They had a thing where they were reading story time. So they were reading and, you know, and monetizing off of that, you know. Absolutely. The DJs going in and people, you know, cash apping them. You know, I definitely have put money in different cash apps. And because you know, I'm an essential employee. DJs
got some money from me.
Yeah. And
pandemic.
And as an essential employee, because, you know, I made sure, or try to still make sure, that I support, you know, one independent, preferably a Black or, you know, Aboriginally, indigenously owned business a week, because I have not been furloughed. I have not been, you know, sent home. Like, I've been working, so I try to make sure that the money that I'm making, at least I can, you know, give some to a business, so that we can keep this thing going. But I mean, if all you have right now is music, it's gonna be, you know, unless you have a following, that's a tough fight that you're fighting.
And even if you have a following, if you're not being smart about, like you said, about monetizing, you could find yourself being the most popular poor person you ever met.
Monetize everything.
Right? So I mean, you definitely hit it on the head. I mean, I think that what I was thinking and you brought out is just that, you know, hip hop is growing up every single day.
Yep.
Still young, but growing up every single day. So as we get older and as we learn, we need to put that, and I'm encouraging hip hop. I'm not holding you to it. I'm not, you know, you need to, but I'm
right. Free will, always free will.
Yeah, I encourage hip hop to put some of that message out there, because people listen to you. You know, when Jay-Z said wear a button up, everybody wore a button up. You know, at this point, the STAHHR can say something right now and everybody will do it. And I'm hoping that they get that same inspiration. That's right. Listen to her. Listen to STAHHR. But I'm hoping that we all just use our platforms to build economies, to teach each other and our youth, our next generation coming up, and to also just love on each other and share. You know, there's no secrets. We need to share with each other. Like you said, we are 400 years behind. So if you have some knowledge, if you're able to bring me up or show me how to do something, then I am willing. And I would love for hip hop to use this platform like it's been doing lately. I'm just feeling like this new Pharoah Month song, this new Star song. I mean, like, I'm feeling the power, the energy of this movement, but it doesn't stop with these songs. It has these young people and your peers need to see you in action, and so they can follow suit and join in with you. Right. And let's just continue. Hip hop has always been a movement. So let's just continue to be this movement and follow with these times and just really, you know, capitalize in a good way on each other's hearts and capitalize on each other's minds and be able to share knowledge, information, and wealth. And that's just kind of where I'm always about building wealth and supporting my people first. I mean, that's what I do.
Yeah, and I mean, ain't no shame in that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. We got to.
Never.
I mean, we have to.
We have not been doing, which is why in a lot of ways we're in the economic position we're in.
Right.
And it's okay because it is what it is, but it's time to change that. And I just appreciate you for changing that with your platform. I appreciate you just for being, you know, the girl next door on IG, which is pictures every day, like,
because we need that. We need that. I need that.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Because like I'm out every day. Like I didn't get to quarantine. So I do need somebody to say something nice to me sometimes too. Like, you know what I mean? So
well, you're beautiful. You're wonderful. And I'm a supporter for life.
Oh, sis, thank you so much. I really appreciate you so much, and I have so much love for you. And you have, like, from day one, just been in my corner, and I definitely, you know, don't take that for granted. Because the most important, the most valuable thing anyone can pay you is attention.
Hello.
That's their energy. That is the real currency, energy. So if somebody is giving you their time and their attention, that is golden.
Absolutely. Well, tell everybody what's coming up next for you and where they can find you so they can pay you some more attention.
Well, right now, you know, No Doubts is out. It's a maxi single with 3 songs. It's available digitally everywhere. You know, a lot of DJs have it, maybe added it to their rotation. I'm still kind of slowly getting myself back into like, do I want to, I think me and Baz need to finish up this 730 project. That's definitely something that we got to start working on. And I have stuff that I started, but it's not completed yet. So I really don't have, you know, those songs I'm glad I had them so that I had something to contribute, but I really still am in this space of what do I want to do next? Okay. Like, and how do I want to approach what I'm doing next? But I'm here. I'm on. You know, I'm in and out on social media. That's not necessarily the best place to find me because I do disappear from time to time. I will deactivate my page without any forewarning. But I'm STAHHR on everything: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You know. And I'm out here.
Where's your music?
My music is on iTunes, Tidal, Amazon, Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio. It's everywhere. It's on my Bandcamp, star.bandcamp.com. So if you put me in the little search engine, I'm gonna pop up. And I've done a lot of, you know, features, so I might pop up on other people's stuff too.
Wow. I appreciate you for popping up with me tonight.
Thank you.
And when I make it, of course, when I make it out your way,
you will.
I'll give you a buzz.
Okay, definitely. Because we're gonna link. We gotta link in person. We got to.
Absolutely. Well,
I can't wait. Thank you. You are so welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Ladies Love Hip Hop is here. You can find us on YouTube. You can see some of our shows on YouTube. You can hear me on SoundCloud, iTunes. Check out my Instagram page, Ladies Love Hip Hop. That's LUV. Always here for you, always here for hip hop. And I encourage the world to keep it. Hip hop. See you next time.
Ladies love hip hop.